This episode is brought to you by Playapod, the best cross-platform podcast app for iOS and Android. Just visit playapod.com and download it for free.
Hey, thank you so much for downloading the episode today. We recorded this show on International Women's Day, and we decided to talk about the generations of women before us in our family that paved the way for us to be obnoxious and crude on the podcast. And we show our appreciation, and we also talk about ways that women can feel empowered, especially in this day and age. So along with that, we segue right into our Ugly and Awkward Moments of the week. It's all in ugly sister fashion. It ain't that serious. You'll love it. Thank you so much for downloading. Enjoy the show.
It's another uncensored look at the world around you from sisters who will say just about anything to anyone at any time. It's the Uggs. Jamie? Paula?
Well, I didn't put the whole thing in my mouth.
Uncensored as always, it's time for the ugly truth.
Welcome to the Ugly Truth. It is episode 257. Ugh. Today, as we record this, it is International Women's Day during the month of March, which is Women's History Month. So celebrate! What's funny is, we're not really all into that kind of stuff,
No, we're not like women's lib kind of thing.
Yeah, we're not women's lib kind of women, but I don't deny all of the paths that have been created from our mother's generation and our grandmother's generation, because they did a lot of hard-ass work for us to be lippy on a podcast. There was a time when you and I would be, back in the 50s, we would be unhappily married wearing up to the neck collared dresses,
cooking dinner,
making dry pot roast
5 o'clock while our husbands are cheating on us with some whore.
Yeah, exactly. Going to the bar with the guys, and some slutty waitress with loose morals is not giving them blowjobs, but letting them, fuck them.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it was definitely a different time. And then our mothers and our grandmothers ripped off those bras and stormed the streets.
And they said, no more!
Hell no! Whatever they said. I don't know what the words were back then. They had their things. But women's empowerment. I'm all for women empowerment. I mean, our mom raised us to be very independent women. And I don't know about you, but I really struggled when I chose to couple with Daryl, because I knew we were in it for the long haul. Mm-hmm. And so when we were trying to figure out what it was like to be together and live together, I'd never lived with a guy before. And, I didn't realize until then how challenging it must have been to be with someone who was raised to not rely on men whatsoever. And so it was, we had many arguments about it. And he would be like, just let me help. Let me do something. I'm like, I don't need you. We had a lot of arguments about how I did not need him. And it's true, because when you're raised by a woman who suddenly recognized that she didn't need a man to take care of her, which is what happened to our mother specifically. Yeah. And our grandmother, by the way, was always independent. Mm-hmm. She had her own businesses. She, raised all those children on her own. She had how many 11?
No. Oh, 12? Did she? I thought she had 9, but maybe it was. I couldn't even fathom having that many children.
Does it even matter after a certain number? I mean, my God, don't they just saunter out like, well, here I am?
Well, once they get old enough, then it's just like, take care of your younger brother and sister. I think.
It's like Duggars, man. It's like...
Yeah, really. My name is Ruth, and I had 11 children, and I gave birth to all of them. Yeah. This is my family.
Right.
With a more cigarette hanging out of her mouth.
Right. Menthols, man. Our grandmother, she smoked menthols.
She smoked those brown cigarettes.
I know. And she
are those menthols?
I think so. I remember them smelling minty fresh. I could be wrong, but she definitely was hardcore. There's no doubt about it. I I have a memory of our grandmother when she was retired, and she had decided, and I can really, as I get older with children, I really understand her mentality. When she was in her 60s and 70s and everybody was out of the house, she wanted to live alone, and she didn't want friends. She wanted peace.
She just wanted to wear her little nightgowns and drink Pepsi.
She drank her Pepsi, smoked her cigarettes, and she had piles and piles of books, and that's all she did. She didn't even like the radio on. We'd be like, Grandma, did you want the radio? She goes, no more noise. It's like, I get it now, right? I get it. I get it, She's like, I've raised my children. I've dealt with the noise and the parties and the chaos. I'm over it. So I totally understand our grandmother.
The only living thing she allowed was that little Chihuahua dog, Chico.
No, Gypsy.
Oh, Gypsy.
Gypsy. Chico is our aunt's dog.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, no, Gypsy was her dog, and she was mean to us. I remember
She wasn't used to people.
Well, we come in like a tornado. Of course. We don't enter any room without creating some kind of wind or craziness, chaos. The four of us come blowing into her tiny little place, and Grandma was always so excited to see us, but that dog would run and hide under the couch, and of course us, because we just have literally no boundaries whatsoever. We're like, come here, Gypsy. And we'd grab that dog, and it would be like, hi. It would be so pissed. I think one time we actually drove it away, and it ran down the street.
And then we were chasing it. Gypsy, come back.
Oh, God, that poor dog. She's like, I don't know what the fuck is going on, but every time these people come, it's like a nightmare.
God.
Oh, she always tried to bite. I hated that dog. God, and then when the dog died, I felt bad,
Well, we all did.
Well, no one wants to hear about that. But anyway, yes. So our grandmother, who basically raised all these children on her own, and then our mom, who found empowerment at some point and divorced our lech of a dad, and made it on her own and taught us how to be strong, independent women. And we really are, even though we're not man haters, because our hormones just would never allow it.
No, we like the weenie too much.
We do. And it's funny because I remember one time we were in the car and she was taking us to school, and God only knows what we were talking about. We were talking the way we always do when we start drooling over some male. And she turned and looked at us, and she scanned the car, and she's like, God, you guys are hot tamales. Jesus.
You get it from your father.
Yeah, exactly. Get it from your father. I'm like, well, that's probably true. But anyway,
true.
So we celebrate women. May you be empowered, whatever that means to you. Speaking of empowerment, it's funny because it's like, I'm all about girl power. I'm all about that stuff. But sometimes it feels like in this day and age, if you want to be empowered, you can't wear makeup and stuff. And I'm just not into that. I want to look good if I'm going to be empowered. If I'm going to walk around acting like I'm the shit, I got to have a lipstick and eyeliner on. I don't know about you.
Girl power, it treads into lesbian territory, which is cool.
Yes.
I don't care if anyone's a lesbo.
Yes.
But, some of them get pretty out there as far as buzzing their heads and not doing makeup and big t-shirts, and I'm just like, that's not me, man, but all right.
Yeah, well, good, go you. But I think what I don't like about that mentality is I'm not going to be constrained by society standards. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, but you're a little pale and you could use some blush. I'm just saying people might think you're ill, so you might want to think about maybe pinching your cheeks a bit. I don't know. Rouge has been around for hundreds of years. I'm just saying, you might want to try it.
But maybe they feel confined by makeup. Maybe they think
a lot of people do.
Society's, that's what society is telling them to do, and they're going to feel beautiful without it. And, that's
Paula,
cool.
I could not look in the mirror.
Oh, God. No one would look at me and be like, you're beautiful without makeup.
If you walked in and you're like, this is the new me, I'm not going to be constrained, I'm not going to put a mask on, I'd be like, well, that's all right, but are you ill? Are you hormonal?
Like,
What's
I
happening?
look like a drowned rat.
Yeah, and if I didn't do my hair or anything, oh my God, it's like, what are we, savages? What is this?
They'd be like, put those two at the front line.
Not only that, but I would look at you going, Paula, maybe it's time to consider the turban to hide that hair.
Really? What happened? I ran out of dry shampoo.
Oh God, would you like to try some dry shampoo? Can I interest you in a highlight? Anything? No, but I was doing some research on, because we do joke, but the reality is that it's not lost on us how much freedom we have as women, especially in the United States. I mean, we're so fortunate that our ancestors, our female ancestors, paved the way for us to be obnoxious and gross, everywhere. We can do whatever we want. It's really nice. And we're not owned by our husbands or, our fathers, all of that stuff. So that's all gone away because of these women who said, hey, I don't know what your guys' deal is, but not only do we bleed every month, we don't die, and we deliver children, should we choose to. All that stuff, now is our choice, which it used to not be. But I was looking at ways that women can feel empowered. And if you don't feel empowered, obviously you've taken the right step. You're listening to this show because we're pretty empowered, and
Right.
we're pretty, we give zero fucks about men unless they're good men, of course. But don't be ashamed to be independent. I know that there's a lot of women who feel like they have to couple up. They have to find a partner or a man or a woman or whoever. You don't feel complete unless you're in a relationship. And you don't really need to do that. Like, I'm really happy when I'm single. Not anymore, obviously. I'd be devastated if I was divorced. But when I was single, I didn't feel that need to feel coupled. I don't know about you, Paula, but I really was cool being single. I felt pretty fulfilled on my own.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not that I didn't want to be with someone. It was that I didn't crave it. Like, some women feel they feel incomplete without a partner, whereas I was really cool being independent.
after a breakup, I think my desire to date and to be with someone was just to kind of cool the burn. But after a while, when I was on my own, I felt pretty all right. I was just cool being me, because I think I was like, oh well, this is my life now, so this is what it is, and so whatever, I'm gonna just coast along and do what I gotta do.
Don't be ashamed to be independent. There's nothing wrong with it, and I think it's awesome. Also, this is a really hard one for me, but try to find role models. And I think it was because of the time period. There were times, especially when you and I were growing up, role models were really hard to come by. We did not have good male role models, like none.
Depends on what you're after, but
True, but our mom was an amazing role model, but as far as being an independent person, but outside of that, if there are people, and not movie stars, but if there are people that you recognize, maybe someone you work with or someone, maybe a professor or something like that, where you really admire what they're doing, you can consider them a role model for your own self. I struggle with that personally. It would be nice to see someone that I admire for their accomplishments or for how they carry themselves or whatever. I'd like to look like J-Lo. I want to know who does her makeup. Is that a role model? No.
I'm sure that's like, a ton of money, but
that woman is flawless, and it makes me mad. It just drives me nuts. I'm like, but that is money and professional people. So maybe I want to be her makeup artist. That would be awesome, because then I can do it to myself. The other thing, and I have no problem with this one, is to tell people no. Women are inclined to never say no to someone. They don't want to reject people. I know you have a problem saying no.
I do.
You really struggle with that one. I don't. I can say no. And but you know what? I'll be honest. I feel like a bitch when I do it. I don't feel comfortable saying no, but I do say it. Not as much as I probably even should. I don't know. I mean, I don't know too many women who are super comfortable saying, no, absolutely not, and then standing by it and not trying to explain it or apologize or backtrack it or soften it. we all do it. And I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking in general terms. It's hard to say no as a woman.
It's easy to say no to sex.
It really is. And we all have our ways of doing it. Daryl will give me a look and I'll be like,
no.
I just look at him silently with my eyes. He's like, oh, are you tired? I'm like, you could say that. Good night. Have you heard about those experiments that couples do where they try to have sex 100 days in a row?
Oh my God.
Have you heard of that?
No.
I've heard of it. And so it's big. I've heard it. It's years. I've heard that off and on. And the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear that is, what about when they're on their period? Like, do you still do it? Do you take a break? I mean, because I wouldn't have sex on my period. Not on purpose anyway. I mean, many times I've had sex and suddenly it's like a freaking murder scene. And I didn't know, like I didn't know. I'm like, oh my God, did you get it on the expensive duvet? Get out of here. It's like, hurry up. But other than that, I can't even fathom forcing myself to have sex 100 days in a row on purpose.
I mean, wouldn't you get sore?
I would. I wouldn't like it. I mean, it just seems so required. It doesn't even seem like it would be fun after a while. I'd be like, all right, let's get it done.
I wouldn't think so. I'd be like, all right. Day 26.
It's been 26 days since my last free night. Oh, God. Please send help.
I'd pray for a business trip or something.
I'd be like, oh, where are you traveling? Oh, well, that's unfortunate. Oh, well, good night. I'll talk to you when you get back in 3 days.
We'll take a break.
Oh, God, I know. And then the other one I read was to empower others. And to me, it kind of sounds like being a coach. I'm really good at empowering others, at least with my girls, the kids. I feel like I give them a little boost in their step when they're feeling like crap. For example, when Mackenzie she was at a crossroads and she was just kind of freaking out and not knowing what to do with her life. And after some chatting and some, trying to make her feel like she's got control of this, she's not at the mercy of anybody, that this is up to her and she can do it. She went back to culinary school and now she's just beyond over the moon. Like, she's so happy. And
good.
Yeah. But see, so stuff like that, I don't know about you. I mean, I try to empower you all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I'm always trying to tell him, like, you don't need to put up with that shit. Is that empowering?
Of course.
I don't know. Does it seep through?
Well, I think sometimes we have to empower ourselves.
You do.
We have to get outside of our own head and think about, weighing our options and thinking about, what's reality and what we can do within our own scope.
Yes, it's true. But sometimes it helps to have someone also remind you of those things, because we all get lost. We all forget, sometimes, like you said, we get stuck in our own world, and it's nice to have someone come in and go, hey, girl, you can do this, man. Okay, so then the other one, this is what I want to end it with, as far as female empowerment, is self-care. And that's something that is driven into our brains on social media all the time, about self-care. Physically taking care of yourself, mentally checking yourself. And I'm like, okay, that is true. You have to take care of yourself. And mothers specifically are the worst at taking care of themselves. And when you see women who do, you're either jealous or you think selfish. Or
they're single.
Or they're single, or, they must be having some problems in their marriage, because she sure has a lot of time on her hands. Yeah. Who's taking care of her kids? But the thing is self-care is really important. We all know we're all guilty of letting ourselves go to the last thread. And so then finally you're like screaming and locking yourself in the bathroom and just like, get away from me. Yeah. It's true. And I mean, I've done it too. My God. And when you do, you're of no use to anybody, even yourself. So
even Victor told me to go get my hair done the other day.
Was he just sick of the greasiness, or
no? He just said, he's like, you should go get your hair highlighted. And I'm like,
man, if he's saying something.
No, and I'm just like, but we've got all these bills to pay. He says, I want you to go get it done before we pay the bills. Because he says, if you pay all the bills, then you'll find an excuse not to get it done.
Right, right. So, I mean, it's true. And so instead of someone telling you need to do this or that because they can see that you need a little something, we have to remind ourselves to do it. And on that same note, whether that means escape, like for me, like when we went and traveled for almost a week, and when I came home, Daryl goes, okay, when we're in the car and away from the airport, Malia and I are very alike in some ways. And so we're all in the airport and we're driving home. He goes, all right, listen. He goes, I know you ladies are going to go disperse and hide out in your rooms for like 3 days. He's like, but before we do that, can we just discuss this one thing? And we're like, what? Because we need solitude. We need to like regroup. It's the only way that I will be able to deal with him or anything after a long trip.
Right.
So we just need to do that, you know? And so the final thing though, as far as self-care goes, is sexually too. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, sexual releases are very important. Like when we went on this trip, you know, obviously we were with our child, so no sex happened.
Right.
5 days is a long time for our situation.
I would think that's pretty long for any relationship, but maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. Everybody's got their own thing, but for Daryl and I, 5 days is about the tipping point. And by the 5th day, we were mean to each other. Like we were getting mean to each other. And, you know, there was a time at the hotel where I started contemplating needing his quote unquote help in the bathroom because, you know,
I'm like, why don't you guys just take a shower together for God's sakes?
Because hotel showers are very small.
Yeah, they are.
And they're bathtubs, which means slippy and someone's going to break something. And, you know, there's nothing to brace anything. I just couldn't. I couldn't imagine.
What? I'm not as limber as I used to be. Jeez.
I am bendy, but it's more of the slippy, and Daryl's not as bendy as me, and he could be the one, and if he falls on me, it's over. You know, we've got two crumpled, broken bodies laying, and our child's going to have to assist, and it's just a whole thing. So I said no. I decided not to do that. Plus, you know, she's 17, for God's sake. It's not like she's a baby.
She's not an idiot. Yeah.
No, she'd be like, oh my God. I mean, it would be the worst. It's like,
you can't leave him in the living room to watch Sesame Street for 5 minutes.
It's like, hey, Barney's on. Yeah, it's none of that. So 5 days. But with that being said, if you don't have someone to assist you, masturbating is a very, very good thing for a sexual release. Endorphins, better sleep, you feel better, you feel empowered, ladies. So the reason that I brought up that is I read this article and a woman did an editorial. She went to what's called a masturbation class. And it immediately reminded me of that Sex and the City episode where the girls went to this woman's home where they were showing them how to perform sex on a man so that he would not fall asleep and, you know, it would be super erotic. And so basically it was like blowjob lessons or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly.
Oh, that's right. Because I think Charlotte was dating someone who kept falling asleep on her during sex.
Yeah, she was trying to give him oral sex and he kept falling asleep. And so she made him take this class. I'm fairly certain that this was based on this woman. Her name is Betty Dodson. She's in New York City. She's a PhD. She's a sex therapist. She has several books on Amazon. And, you know, if you really want to, I mean, I would absolutely encourage you to go through our Ugly Truth link and peruse the books if that's something that appeals to you or if you need it. I don't know if she does them anymore, but she has conducted female masturbation classes, and they showed her front room. It's in her apartment, and these women come and there's little towels in a circle. And the thing that I struggled with is that she's carpeting. There's no hardwood floors. And I'm like, man, that's a lot of pussy juice. I mean, I know it sounds gross, but it's like, you know, if you're going to do that, I don't know if a bath towel is going to be sufficient.
Jamie, if you're going to have your vagina out there and you're going to be masturbating, do you think you're worried about carpet?
I don't know, but I would be.
Well, you're probably worried about your own carpet.
Well, that's true. God, can you imagine?
No.
So I was reading this article and this woman goes, yeah, I went to it. Now she was a free thinker. She's been to a couple of nudist colonies, etc. So nudity wasn't her issue, but she was just, you know, these are for women who kind of struggle with their their bodies, and the fact this woman, Betty Dodson, who's a very renowned person, a therapist, sex therapist, she's like in the 50s now. She delved into the sexual revolution in the 60s and 70s because she recognized that women weren't having orgasms. Men were, but women were faking it. And she's like, that's enough of that. And so she's like, I'm going to teach these women how to be empowered and to ensure that they're responsible for their own orgasms and that they love their bodies, blah, blah, blah. So I was reading about this and I'm like, well, if you're that free of a thinker that you're going to a masturbation class, you probably already know how to do this. So it's more of like a curiosity thing.
That's gross.
Paula, in a million years, I would never do this. But if you need,
I just can't.
Paula, I couldn't either.
What do they have, like mirrors or something?
Oh, yes. Everybody has to look at their vaginas to see how beautiful they are. And then there's a variety of vibrators and lubes and all, they do exercises for their Kegels. There's like these little mini dumbbells that you lift with your Kegel muscle and all that stuff. It was very specific. And apparently, I don't know if it's helpful or not. It's expensive too, by the way. It's not only is it very invasive and you got to be pretty free, it's expensive to do. God. Like $1,200.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm serious as a heart attack. So it was not something that I would do, but I am sure in New York, there's a lot of single women who need to improve their orgasms. This is it. I can't imagine needing a masturbation class. It's like the one thing that everybody should be able to do on their own, right?
I would think. I mean, it's like
wiping your butt. I don't know. Is there a butt wiping class? I mean, I don't understand. It's like, but if there are women who are so out of touch with their femininity or their sexuality that they need to do this, I mean, I guess it's good it's there. But now we have internet. I mean, isn't there some kind of YouTube tutorial that we can do? So I don't have to be in the same room with other women. It's like, I don't even want to take a yoga class with other people, let alone this.
No, I don't. I'm not computing with that one.
Can you imagine if I approached you and you said, Paula, I have some great things we can do for the show.
We have some great things we can do for the show, but that would definitely not be one of them.
We're going to do a masturbation class. That would be insane. Yeah, I would never do it. And then this woman basically observes and, gives you pointers. I don't know.
God.
There's snacks.
She would like what?
Strawberries? Water?
Strawberries? Champagne? Yes. I mean,
I don't know. No, I don't think there's any alcohol, but it was just one of those things. Just when I think I've heard it all. And here's the other thing. These are women that are like, she's 80 years old and doing this class. Like,
that's,
they show a picture of her in her robe.
Oh, God. And
she's smiling, of course.
Well, of course she is. She's probably freaking happy.
Yeah, she's making $1,200 a pop. Teach people how to jack off. I mean, I would do that.
Plus, she knows how to orgasm probably at any given moment.
Well, it was funny because they said, what about you? When was the last time you did this? And you would think someone like that would be like, oh, every day. But she's like, oh, it was last week. I wanted to know if I still had it because she's like 88 or something. She's like, it was a good one. I was like, holy shit. Can you imagine if our grandmother spoke to us like that?
Really makes me want to throw up right now.
I know. It's insane. God. But there's something for everyone. And, now, she probably doesn't do those classes anymore. Or if she does, I haven't heard it. This article was like 8 years old. So, I mean, and she's still alive, by the way. The woman is still alive that does the classes. So it's possible. But now she's just writing books. And maybe she has videos or tutorials or an app. Who knows? But, in my case, I'm like, if I really didn't know how to get the most out of my masturbatory experiences, I would Google it. I go and look on, Pornhub or something to figure it out. But, I don't think I would spend $1,200 to go to a woman's apartment to have her teach me how to, pick up a dumbbell with my Kegels. That would be odd.
Right. A roll of quarters.
Oh, my God. It looks like that's what it looks like. It looks like a baby dumbbell for your vagina. It was so unusual. But hey, if that empowers you, I guess Godspeed. I don't condone it. I wouldn't do it. It's just like those freaking noni massages. What were those things? Yoni massage?
Oh God, that's right. They steamed your vagina and
then they massage you.
God, I'm getting nauseous.
I know, and it's always a dude. It's a dude that does it.
So it's like, I don't know. It's the ones that come up with this disgusting whatever.
Yeah, I don't get. No, well, it's Gwyneth Paltrow. Actually, she comes up with all the weird shit.
Yeah,
she's so obsessed.
Her my God, name is Goop.
Yeah, that's her site. And she, of course, she's got a podcast. And so, guess who her first guest was? Because she's so incredibly elite.
Who?
Oprah.
Oh.
Oprah was her first podcast guest. And I'm like, really, bitch? Come on. So, yeah, no one's going to top that.
Good for her.
Congratulations, Goop.
Good for you.
It can't be that good. Oh, they are airing another goddamn polygamy show.
Another one?
Yeah, it's called One Husband, Three Wives. And it looks hardcore drama. Like, these women hate each other. They're jealous, just all this stuff. Like, one of the liners they showed, like, the teaser was, she's like, I just know he's having sex with her. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of how the polygamy thing goes. But it doesn't look like there's any kids. So I don't know if it's actual polygamy or if it's polyamory or polyamory or however you call it.
Polyamorous.
Yeah, if there's just, like, these four adults who decided that they wanted to do it. I don't know. So I don't know if I'm
but
into
usually
that one.
with polyamorous relationships that involves all four people.
Yeah, no, I can't do that either. That is not something I would want to be participating in. God, I just can't. I just can't. I don't like the idea of seeing other people naked around me that are not. You know what I mean? Like, it feels weird to me. Like, I could never do the gangbang orgy thing.
Yeah,
it would be really uncomfortable. I mean, I'm sure people do it, but I can't do it. I have a hard time enough just looking in the mirror before I shower. Like, I don't want to see other people's boobs and stuff. I don't know. I mean, I got close to a threesome once, but even then, it was like, am I really doing this? Like, I really had to check myself. I'm like, am I really going to do this?
So would you back out?
No, it just didn't work out. The guy just couldn't fathom it. I think he was really intimidated. I was in my early 20s. It was before, it was 20s.
Before life.
Before I, decided that wasn't something I wanted to do. But it got close. I was close. But it just, I was at that point I was in, but he got scared, I think, because we were two pretty cute girls and he was not prepared. He was not prepared. He probably tells that story differently, but he really freaked out.
I would imagine. Yeah,
he just was like, this is not going to work. he literally got up. Like, I ripped his belt off and he's like, yeah, we should go. We should go to the movies. I'm like, oh. I guess we're not doing this. Yeah, he really didn't want to do it. I'm like, all right, well, that was my one and last and only chance to ever do that again. Because after that, I'm like, I don't think I want to do that. I mean, it was in the moment. It's weird how that can happen, though, where you can be in the moment going, yeah, I'm down. Let's do this. And then, the next morning you're like, wow, that really almost happened. I can't believe it. I don't know. I've never asked you if you've ever done anything like that.
No comment.
All right. Well, anyway, speaking of awkward, let's do our ugly and awkward moments of the week.
Remember how those Tide Pod things were going around and, they were saying how kids were eating them or teenagers were eating them and all that stuff was going around. So a couple weeks ago, Victor and I were doing laundry and they were talking about it on TV. They were showing a Tide commercial or something like that. And at the bottom it said, please keep your, containers up high where no one can reach them and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, those Tide Pods, I'm like, they're really not that small. And so I went into the laundry room and we use Gain. So I got a Gain pod and I brought it into the living room. I'm like, look, this would be really hard to put in your mouth,
Did you put it in your mouth?
So I started to put it in my mouth. And I got soap all over my mouth.
What is wrong with you?
I don't know. Which I think were the exact words Victor asked me. So
Why? This is why children die. What is going on? This is why they do it.
I didn't think the outside capsule was made out of soap, but
it's gelatin. It's like, ugh. Yes.
All of it's made out of soap, apparently. And so I'm like, oh God, I got soap in my mouth.
Paula Marie.
Anyways,
Unbelievable.
I almost gain-podded myself. And so
I think this is why children were doing it. They're like, no way. Then they do it and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, I didn't put the whole
Crazy.
thing in my mouth, but
Legit, yeah, still. Yeah, that's something.
yeah,
that is something, all right.
I know.
It wasn't even a Tide Pod. It was a Gain Pod.
I know.
It wasn't even like a thing.
Live and learn, I guess.
Luckily.
I mean, how many times when we were growing up did we put weird things in our mouths and, weird seasonings or something
All the
like
time.
that just to test it, What's paprika?
Who was the one that did the cinnamon trick where they took a spoonful of cinnamon and put it in their mouth? It was Stephanie, right?
Yes.
Future meth head, Stephanie. No, not meth head.
We all did that. We did a spoonful of something, and then we had to try and swallow it. And then if it didn't work, we were shooting it across the dining room table.
Like a dragon's fire. I did that with Hershey's chocolate, the dry, just the chocolate that you used for baking and stuff.
God, the unsweetened stuff.
Yeah, and I put a spoonful of Hershey's chocolate powder in my mouth. And, only the outside layer that touches your saliva gets wet. And you basically create like a Tide packet.
Yeah.
And inside it's all dry. So if you try to move it around in your mouth, suddenly you inhale powder.
Yeah.
And then you immediately cough, and you cough this cloud of powder that comes out into the kitchen and gets everywhere.
Yep.
That's pretty much what we did.
We used to do saltine crackers. We would chew them, and then the first person who could whistle was the winner.
Why did we do that? I don't even remember where that came from. Was that from a show?
We had a lot of
that we were
time on our
copying?
hands. We had a lot of time on our hands.
We really did. Thanks, Latchkey Life.
Yeah, right.
We did a lot of weird shit. It's true. God, it is so true. I remember one time, Mom she was doing self-care. She had taken herself to Hawaii. And
okay.
we were on our own for a few hours before she was getting home. Back then, cranberry juice came in glass containers, not plastic.
Oh,
and
my God. I remember this.
Do you? And I dropped it in a huge shard, and instinctively I stepped on the shard an idiot.
You had like a 5-inch slice on the bottom.
It
of
was
your
so
foot.
dumb. I remember, I've done, that's awkward moment. I've done that before where I remember one time I was at Thrifty, the drugstore, and we were standing there and Mom was checking out, and there was a stand of, chocolate, like a 3-tier stand of chocolate, like an end aisle thing sitting on the counter. I pulled one and I was like, I wonder if I pull this anymore, this thing's gonna fall. And sure as shit, the whole stand slid and fell, and thousands of candies just flung across the linoleum of the drugstore. And I just stood there and watched it happen in slow motion. Like I had no control over it.
Mom must have hated us.
Well, it really explains her mental state now. She's exhausted.
God knows what she came home to. What are all these crumbs on the floor?
Oh my God. So many things. She goes, why is the floor sticky over here?
What happened to all the cocoa powder? I just bought this.
And then instead of cleaning it up, someone would draw a heart on the counter in it. There would be no cleaning it. Be like, who drew this heart? You couldn't clean this up? It's just constantly. Okay, here's my awkward moment. We didn't get to it. I'll tell you about it next show. Daryl and I acted like grown-ups. We were invited to an art lecture at the Crocker Art Museum.
Oh, I saw your little pamphlet.
Yes. And, that was a book. We received a book as a gift signed by the curator of the Crocker Art Museum. Really exciting. Now, it is ripe with awkward moments when we go to something like this, because we were being introduced to a lot of very fancy people. I am not a fancy person. Daryl's pretty good. He can keep himself together, but we were like by 25, 30 years, the youngest people there. So but the show was amazing. The lecture was good. You know, I was able to get through most of it because I love art and I love learning about artists. Daryl checked out about 30 minutes in. So at the end, there's a very tiny little reception for these people that were invited, and we were guests of someone who invited us. And so I was like, oh God, here we go. I had some awkward moments, but here we come. This is the awkward moment time period. So we go now we aren't even into the room yet. And Neil, who brought us, he wanted to introduce me to this person who kind of is in charge of all of this stuff for these members. And he's a very attractive man, probably in his mid to late 30s, really good looking guy, and really together. He's wearing a suit and super, cool looking dude. Mm-hmm. And so he has a name tag on. And it is kind of loud, and I am losing hearing because it's genetic, but I'm not at the point where I need hearing aids yet, but I do struggle sometimes. And so Neil goes, Jamie, this is whoever, and, nice to meet you, whatever. So I heard Neil, our person, tell me his name. I heard it registered into my brain, but it would not come out of my mouth. And I was afraid I was going to say something dumb. So I lean in, I'm shaking this person's hand. His name was Reese. And I heard him say, this is Reese. Reese, this is Jamie. And I shake his hand and I lean in, Paula, like an inch away from his name tag. I'm like, Reese, nice to meet you. And he just looked at me. His eyes got a little wide. He's like, nice to meet you. I'm like, wow, this is a really great thing you're doing. I mean, I just could not stop being awkward.
Oh, God.
And he goes, well, it is a lot of work. It gets a bit chaotic. I'm like herding kittens, right? And in my mind, he's probably thinking, Neil, you really thought these people belong with us?
Yeah,
you thought
really,
you were going to introduce us to this crowd?
What were you thinking?
It's just the worst.
Little too heavy on the bleach on this one.
Reese! It was so...
Reese, as in Reese's Pieces, right?
Oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't say that. Because I thought it. I was like, okay, honestly, Paula, last week when I was telling you how I saw Cat Cora in the elevator and I was able to control myself.
Yeah.
In my mind, before I meet this person, I'm thinking, just be like Cat Cora. Just do it like with Cat Cora. Just don't say anything dumb. Just shake his hand, say hello, nice to meet you, and move on with your life. But no, I had to go in and read his name. Paula, I couldn't even stop myself. I was like, here I go.
Like a blind person.
It was so embarrassing. And it just, and then it's not an awkward moment, but this is the level of people. There were some artists there, some local artists that are very, very well known. I don't know them. And so there's a man there who's a very famous sculptor. And I didn't realize, but he seemed really nice. And we were in line together getting a glass of wine. And I said, oh, this is great. This is a really great wine. He goes, yeah, I felt like having it too. Da, da, da. And I go, so what do you do? He goes, oh, I'm a sculptor. I'm like, oh, do you have any pieces here? Yeah, it's installed in front of the museum. It's like a major piece. And I mean, that's how out of place I was. I didn't know any.
Well, that's gotta feel good.
I said something like that, actually. I did. I said, so what do you do? He goes, well, I'm an artist. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I'm like, so he was telling me about all this stuff. And he was saying, I had to work, blah, blah, blah. I go, but does it really feel like work? Does it? He's like, well, it is work.
God, Jamie.
I swear to God.
Seriously.
So, the whole thing. And so I'm like, Daryl, you got to get me out of here.
It's like out of a bad, fiction.
It's a bad book. Tom Hanks movie. Oh God! It felt like the book party in You've Got Mail where he's eating all the garnish.
She's like, you can't eat that. That's a garnish.
Yeah, that's me. That was me. In fact, they were passing out orders like, hors d'oeuvre, ma'am. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I take a big bite. I'm like, oh, this is goat cheese.
Oh, God.
Daryl took it from me. He's like, here, give it to me. He goes, I noticed the tang. And I'm like, why did you say something? And I'm like trying to spit it out.
God.
You would have loved it. It would have been hilarious for you.
I probably would have to wear flat shoes because
I did.
I can't wear heels and things like that. It's like I can't even walk. Sometimes Victor and I will be somewhere and I'm holding my purse and I'm carrying like a drink. Yes. And if I have tall shoes on, I'm like, wait, Victor. I'm like, I can't do all three. I'm like, you're going to have to carry my drink.
Oh, yeah. That's absolutely. Sometimes Daryl does what Victor does. He starts just kind of grabbing my arm. He goes, why don't you just hold my arm? I'm like, why? He's like, I don't know, just because I want you to.
Right. Right.
Oh, God. It's so funny. And I'm not even like, oh, okay.
Avoid catastrophe.
Oh, God. It's just how many. And I had to walk flights of stairs. I mean,
wow.
It's like it was it was a test. It was a test to my awkwardness. But I survived. I only embarrassed myself a couple of times. And, you know, the one thing is, man, will I humble someone with a big ego in a minute because I have absolutely zero idea who you are, nor do I care, apparently.
Right.
That you're a famous artist. Well, congratulations, you're famous. I don't know who you are.
Yeah, in the art world, yay, because I don't know anything about art.
Yeah. All the people I like in art are dead now, so congratulations for being alive and famous. Yes, that's great.
Yes, good. So you know that Michelangelo guy, right? Heard his work?
Yeah. You're a sculptor. You understand. Who knows? Maybe I found my second people. I doubt it, but, you know, whatever.
Well, I think that's a wrap for this week.
Yes.
Keep shopping your Avon and Amazon links. We appreciate the patronage. It's always good to get a little something. Oh.
Even Bo says so.
Yes, Bo says shop Amazon. Damn it.
I'm really passionate about it.
Speaking of Amazon, actually, I think that might be something I ordered.
A dog?
No, at the door.
Oh, your delivery. Yes.
My delivery is here, I think. So,
I ordered a water pick the other day through Amazon.
A water pick? I ordered a dress, so...
For what?
For a funeral, unfortunately.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you have one to go to.
I just didn't feel the desire to go shopping, so I figured I will look at Amazon and I read the reviews, and people tell you whether it's it runs small or it runs big, or they'll give their measurements and say I'm this height, this weight, and this is my bra size, and I ordered this size, and so it's really helpful to
for sure
to see, so that way you basically don't even have to go shopping.
I prefer to purchase almost everything online. Even the stores that are here, online shopping is better, and Amazon almost has everything from those stores.
Yeah, they do, and then it's pretty reasonably priced too. So.
Well, especially if you're a Prime member, it's free shipping.
Other than that, have a good, happy Sunday, and for those of you in the Northeast, stay warm, and that's all I have to say about that. And then we'll see everybody on Wednesday. Have a good week. Bye. Bye.
Thanks for listening and sharing the show. See you next time on The Ugly Truth.